Welcome to the July 2024 San Antonio housing market update. And today we're going to start out by looking back at previous election years and what the data looked like for those election years. Since we are in an election year and everyone's looking to the future and what it means for the country to have a new president and what those conditions are going to look like. The housing market is doing the same thing. We have a lot of things that are on pause right now, and just really kind of looking to see what happens. So we want to look back at previous election cycle and see if we can find a hint as to what the future holds. Now we'll start out first by looking at home price forecasts, because this really kind of sets up the rest of the report and their opinions. You can draw your own conclusions, obviously, please do. But from the left-hand side here with Fannie Mae, which is the most optimistic entity on the board here, they're at 4.8% home price appreciation. This is nationally. It's not the San Antonio housing market, but nationally, 4.8% home price appreciation, and then 0.5% home price appreciation with Freddie Mac, the most pessimistic one on the board. Now that all 7 of these come out to 2.8% home price appreciation. So they all have in common that we're going to see positive appreciation by the time the end of the year rolls around. And part of that reason, I think, ties right into the next slide, which talks about mortgage rates. And we've had a real time with mortgage rates. We've had a lot of folks anticipating that we would already have at least a cut or two under our belts this year. We went from expecting a 5.99% rate this year to now just hoping to get under a 7. So that's how the year has gone in the housing market. Now, mortgage rates previously in previous presidential elections, we're looking at 8 of the past 11 mortgage rates, and they all came out in decreases. 8 out of the 11 came out in decreases. Looking back to 1980, we saw an increase in rates at 2%, which was a huge increase. They were battling inflation back then as well as we are now. And then again, we saw a small bump in interest rates in 1992. Then again in 2016, 3.44 to 3.77. Oh darn, I wish we would have had that inconvenience this year, but that's not the case. I know a lot of you feel the same. But for the most part, 8 out of the last 11 presidential elections from July to November saw mortgage rate decreases. So if this chart means anything and points to a possible outcome, we're looking at some decrease in mortgage rates, which everybody has been looking forward to. And now, new home prices. What have new home prices done after the last 11 presidential elections? And overwhelmingly, 10 of the last presidential elections are all in the positive. So new homes may most likely see price increases. And the new home builders, I have to say, I take my hat off to them. They have done a really good job managing their business right now. We've seen them start build smaller homes. They have cut back on a lot of the extras that you've seen in the past in home building, because number one, they couldn't source the materials, but number two, they had to start making room to help people afford to buy a new home. So this is different than it was in 2008, 2007. They have built in more of the financing portion this time around, and because they were already slow because they couldn't keep up with demand anyway. So this time around, they've come back and built in the incentives that they need to get the homes sold. So rather than adding, this type of countertop, that type of spindles in the stairwell, they're adding in 10, 15, $20,000 worth of incentives to help the buyer purchase the home at an interest rate that is 30 years fixed. They did try to sell a lot of the not adjustable rate mortgages, but the short-term interest rate buy downs. That didn't go over too well. I think there's still some that are able to do it, but for the most part, most of the most success is in the 30-year fixed buy downs. And so it takes a lot of money to buy the interest rate down. So that's why we're seeing the cutbacks in some of the extras and putting that into dollars to help people afford a home. So this chart here, if it's any indication, we're going to see price increases again with builders coming up. Existing home prices. What have existing home prices done? Well, 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections, again, we've seen price increases. Now, if you've been keeping an eye on the market, we've seen price decreases. But what we have set ourselves up for is if and when we do get mortgage rate decreases, home price increases are just around the corner. Although we're building inventory now still, I don't think it's going to take too much longer for those prices to react and start going back into the price increase territory. And then overall sales, not just, not looking at overall prices, but just overall home sales. Historically, 9 of the last 11 presidential elections have seen increases in overall sales. 1980 to 1981, we saw a decrease. That's where we saw that first really big mortgage rate increase by 2 points. We were in double digits there. And then again, we saw a total number of homes sold decrease again in 1988 to 1989. That was a very small rate increase, but nevertheless, we saw total number of homes sold fall. This is countrywide. And then all the previous years here, after the presidential election, we've seen total number of home sales rise. So 2016, we saw 5,450,000 homes sold, and it went up by about 60,000 homes in 2017. To 2020 to 2021, we went from 5,640,000 units to 6,120,000 units in 2021. So I feel that we will definitely see a rise in total home sales next year in 2025, based on where we're at so far with the market report and where interest rates are expected to come in and go up. Some of the data where we've seen the indications that we will see interest rate cuts. We're seeing job losses. We're seeing all the things that matter to the Fed to cut rates. So just hold on and a little longer, and you'll see those rates come down. And now for the San Antonio housing market portion of the report. So we've been inching up here. If you're looking at this line graph here, we're still inching up. We've been inching towards a balanced market for some time now. I believe last month we were around an increase of 10% in inventory. Again, we saw 11.68% month over month increase in inventory here in San Antonio. So if you're a buyer, that's great news. You've got more options out there in the inventory. If you're a seller, you have more competition in selling your home. So not such great news for you there. List to sold price ratio. Once the home has been priced properly, we're seeing about a 3% drop to final sales price. Days on the market, in the middle, we're at 32 days on the market. So the majority of homes are sold in about 32 days right now. That is a decrease of 5.88%. So we saw a spike in the home buying there last month in June. The median sold price, your typical sold price, just shy of 300,000, 298,999. That's a very small decrease from the month before. So prices really just flat there in the middle. The median estimated property values, came in at $276,660, and that's a last month change of minus 1.9%, and a 12-month change of 4.9% negative. Now, new listing data. Wanted to show you this in a different format. So we typically have show the median list price, which has been really consistently on the new listings above 300,000, in that 315 range to 319 this last month. But the number of new listings, I wanted to show you this one first today, because the number of new listings actually fell slightly, just under 0.1%. So we're not seeing more inventory added in the markets there, the resale or new market. So we're not seeing that much more, and you can see that here. You can see this is flattened out here, and it does so every year. We reach a peak every year where we see inventory, people bringing their houses on the market, and then it starts declining towards the end of the year. So I think we're gonna see that decline here very shortly. Over the next couple of months, we'll start seeing the number of properties, new listings dropping. So there's not a panic from home sellers. If anyone's wondering, there's not a panic to get their house sold and get out there and get out of the market. There's not a fire sale happening. In short, active listings. So in this section here, active listings, this bodes well for buyers still, because we're looking at the median list price at 315. So a lot of these active listings, they've come in there with a good price, and the number of properties that are active right now, they're already past the new listing stage, came in at 7,315 homes. That's up 10%. So we added about 600 plus homes to the active listing pool here. So more options for buyers there in the active. Maybe more. This bunch may be more motivated to get a deal done than they were when they first came on the market. So if you're a buyer, don't just look at the new listings. Look at the active listings. Look at the price change listings. Look at the listings that have just been there for 20, 30 days. They may be ready to make a deal. Number of days on the market for these active listings at 49 days on the market. And I want to reiterate, there's nothing wrong with these active listings. A lot of buyers think if it's been on the market a while that there's something wrong with it, but there's nothing wrong with that listing. Typically, I find that it's usually just maybe the pricing was a little off when they started it, and maybe they said no to a couple of offers and we're just testing it. But there's nothing wrong with checking out those active listings. And on to pending listings. These listings went under contract in June, or rather May, and maybe the beginning of June, and they're now pending. They're ready to close, and what this data tells us is what kind of activity we have as far as closings that are coming up. Again, median list price 315, 560. Number of properties in pending status 2,038. That's actually down, so that's showing that the buyer activity is waning. It does that every year. We see the buyer activity slow down towards the end of the summer. People are on vacation or whatnot, so we'll see how that shakes up in next month's market report. But I do expect we'll see fewer pending sales going into the fall, because that's just the seasonality of it. Median days on the market, 30 days. So they're getting sold faster there. Okay, not 9.1%. So that's how much faster they're getting sold, a few days faster. Sold listings. Homes that sold in San Antonio here, median sold price $298,999, and this is actually a drop. Again, this is right next to pending listings. Very important to look at. Number of properties that got sold in June, 1,513. That's down 18.7% month over month from May to June. So you can see how that translates over into the number of active listings that didn't get sold. So these sold listings made it off the market, and now we're seeing that some of those other homes are still on the market. And then wrapping up with a month supply of inventory, 4.4 months worth of inventory, still technically seller's market, but really just interest point or two away from being back at really strong seller's market. Last month change, 11.7% increase in supply, so great news there for buyers. And 12-month change, 38.8% change in inventory. So if you have any questions about this report, you can reach me anytime, 210-260-6617. Overall, I think both buyers and sellers really are eager for those interest rates to come down. I wouldn't expect that they're going to come down dramatically anytime soon. We may see, after looking at this report, a quarter point here, a quarter point there. It's not going to be, in my opinion, a race to get down to 5.9% anytime soon. It may be towards the end of next year before we see a 5 handle on the interest rates. That's really best case scenario. So we'll see how that shakes up. But overall, presidential election, I think that indicates we're going to see some sort of positive change in interest rates. We're going to see potentially some increases in prices in different areas. I don't think it's going to be anything dramatic, but only time will tell, and you just got to do the best that you can in your own situation. So hopefully that helps you, and I'll see you guys on the next market report.